there's a part of me that when I don't feel like I receive the love that I want, this is obviously an inner child, it's okay for me to look for it somewhere else. And this has shown up in past relationships. And what it led to is emotional cheating. When I don't feel like I'm 100% receiving what I want, the connection that I want, it starts to look somewhere else. And I realized that this is an entitled energy, that it believes that I should get everything that I want. And if I don't, I'm entitled to then look for it elsewhere. And that I don't have to take responsibility for the way that I'm showing up lacking divinity, lacking trust, lacking loyalty in my partnership, because I deserve some kind of love. I deserve to be filled up all of the time. And the reality is that is such an unrealistic and impossible expectation to put on your partner. For me to expect my partner to constantly be the one who's connecting with me on a deep level, instead of me looking for connection outside of myself, in my partner, in another person, whatever, it's I need to connect from within inside myself first. Like, that's where it counts. And me realizing, oh, this was something which imprinted on me as a child. This is literally like how generational trauma gets passed on and on and on. This is somewhere where I actually lack loyalty and trust, for one, myself, and two, in my relationships.
Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast, your highest source of sacred truths and universal wisdom. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Rachel Fiori, mystic, spiritual teacher, psychic healer, and founder of Masters of Self University. Join our journey of soul transformation as we deep dive into this latest episode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Masters of Self University podcast. I'm your host, Ellie Lee.
And I'm your host, Morley. And today we're going to be talking about something that I've been working through. And I've expressed certain layers of this on this podcast before, and I just found another layer. So I'm always dumbfounded when I'm like, nah, I've healed this one. And then a new angle, another layer, something else opens up. And if you're up on current viral videos right now in July of 2025, there's a video going around from a Coldplay concert where there was a camera which went out onto this huge stadium and zoomed in on one couple. And the couple were cuddling, and as soon as the camera hit and they were on the stage or the spotlight, they jumped apart as if they were doing something wrong, right? And this podcast isn't about demonizing them or exploring, what's going on in their lives, but it is about what it brought up in me and the realizations that I've had since this and the programs that I started to run. And what happened was, as soon as I saw this post that someone had made and they showed the couple, and the post was, this is what you traded for is you sacrificed this, and it was the couple having what we think is potentially an affair, for this, and a picture of the family. And as soon as I saw this this post, I started to run all these programs of like, yeah, but they were in love, like they don't know, and all this like excuse and justification for the way that these people were showing up. And I was like, oh, straight away I could feel that there was programs running there. I was like, wow, this what just got activated wasn't my soul, my divinity. I could feel there was a program running here. So as I went deeper into it, I started to realize that, like, this is where I show up in my life. And this is the imprinting that I received when I was younger. My parents separated and a similar situation happened. The imprint that got put on me wasn't, you need to take accountability for the way that you show up in the world. and the way that you're not loyal and breaking someone's trust. And it's okay if you're doing something because you need you love somebody else. That's okay. That's an okay thing to do. And what I realized in my own relationships in the past, there's a part of me that when I don't feel like I receive the love that I want, this is obviously an inner child, it's okay for me to look for it somewhere else. And this has shown up in past relationships. And what it led to is emotional cheating. It never led to physical cheating, like in this potentially in this example that we've seen, the Coldplay thing. It never led to that, but it did lead to emotional cheating. And in essence, they're the same, right? It's still cheating nonetheless. And I found this part of me coming up recently. Like there is this part of me that when I don't feel like I'm 100% receiving what I want, the connection that I want, it starts to look somewhere else. And I realize that this is like an entitled energy, that it believes that I should get everything that I want. And if I don't, I'm entitled to then look for it elsewhere. And that I don't have to take responsibility for the way that I'm showing up, lacking divinity, lacking trust, lacking loyalty in my partnership, because I deserve some kind of love. I deserve to be, filled up all of the time. And the reality is that is such an unrealistic and impossible expectation to put on your partner. Like for you to expect, or I'll say for me to expect, my partner to constantly be the one who's connecting with me on a deep level. And if that's not there in one moment, then I have a right to go look for it somewhere else. Obviously, that's so toxic and so out of balance. And the deeper thing that was coming up here is like, instead of me looking for connection outside of myself, in my partner, in another person, whatever, it's I need to connect from within inside myself first. Like that's where it counts. And me realizing, oh, this was something which imprinted on me as a child. This is literally like how generational trauma gets passed on and on and on. And now I have been carrying that, and I don't want to be that way. But if I resist saying, I don't want to be that way, I don't want to show up that way, and I don't do the energetic work to actually transform it, which I've moved through over the past like couple of days of realizing, yeah, this is somewhere where I actually lack loyalty and trust for one, myself, and two, in my relationships. So it shone this beautiful light on an area of my shadow of somewhere where I don't want to be. Like I don't want to recreate these traumas. But if I don't look at them and recognize, yeah, they are actually in me. This is something that I've potentially done in my past and I could recreate this. I'm going to allow myself to recreate the very thing that caused me so much harm.
Yeah, and not to mention when you are running a program of entitlement of like, and all, it's rooted in a lot of selfishness, right? It's like what I want, what's going to make me happy. And then when you're running those programs, you have no regard for the harm that it causes other people, because you're so blinded, because you're running such an entitlement program that all you actually care about is yourself, of what I need, what's going to make me happy. And then it's this complete disregard for everybody else that's going to be harmed along the way. Because, one of the things that Rachel teaches a lot, because this is oneness, you can't cause harm for yourself and not for everybody else. And the lack of responsibility and just the selfishness and the narcissism in that is deep.
Yeah. Yeah. And it allowed me to see, so the lack of connection that I have within myself, I'm now looking for that connection to be filled by someone outside of me. Obviously, in a romantic partnership, it's going to be your partner. And then as soon as that, because when that program is in there, as soon as for whatever reason you reach the place where you don't feel like that's happening externally, this program wanted to then look for somewhere else to receive that. And this is how I can see so clearly now of how couples can be married for so long and be together And then all of a sudden, or not all of a sudden, it's probably more of a gradual process. This part starts to take over, this unhealed part of you. And when you're running that entitlement program, you truly believe, well, I deserve to be happy, right? That everyone of course deserves to be happy. Of course they do, but not from that energy of, well, I deserve to be happy, so it's okay for me to show up lacking responsibility, lacking the way of loyalty, lacking the way of trust, and then going
honoring.
out and honoring, and then going out and breaking the sacred commitment that you made to your partner and your family, that you would be there for them. And it's okay for you to then potentially have an affair or cheat, whether that's mentally, emotionally, physically, on the internet, just watching porn, right? That is a form of cheating, right? We don't have to get crazy complicated and be like, oh, well, it only counts if it's in the physical. No, like if you're online talking to somebody, it's the energy that you're coming from. And me realizing all this energy is in there, and it's wanting to come up and take over and create another pattern. That's my own powerlessness. And that's what has been, I'm sure, passed on generation to generation. And I can see how these affairs get created now. I've felt it in my body, the energies that live within there, and then it's justified, like, oh, I deserve to be happy. Yeah, of course you deserve to be happy. Everyone does, but not because you're entitled to be happy. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like that's not okay. You're acting from an inner child. You deserve to be happy because you're a divine soul. And of course, there's no such thing as that in reality, like deserving to be happy. Of course we do. Like when our divinity naturally comes online, of course we're going to be in that beautiful, happy state. Maybe not all the time, right? That's part of being a human. And I think that's the misconstrued thing that gets twisted there, of like, I'm so powerless to experience the pain of regular life experiences, that anytime I don't feel something quote unquote good or happy, I have to look for it. I have to look for that happiness somewhere else because it's not here. Well, guess what? Life isn't always happy, right? You're not always going to feel full all the way to the max. You're not always going to feel happy. And when you do, how do you show up in the world? Do these darker parts of you, which have been, imprinted on you and conditioned, that's not the real you, but are they in there? And what are you doing about it? And what I realized, like the main thing that I realized is, like, what I was role modeled in my childhood was that, oh, it's okay to do that. And when I realized that, like, because of these programs that I'm listening to, like, oh, well, like they were probably looking for love and all this stuff. It's like, no, you're not showing up as the way of responsibility. You're not showing up as the way of trust. You're not honoring anybody except for your own selfish needs and wants. And that lacks, obviously, divinity.
Yeah, and then you're showing that to your daughter and your son, that happiness is going to, if happiness comes in the form of chasing another man and ruining everything that you have, I mean, that's what your children absorb. That's what you learn, especially woman to woman, right? A mother to daughter. You're role modeling to them that a happiness comes by breaking up a family and finding another man. And when you're so unconscious, and somebody's so quote unquote unhappy in a relationship, in your unconsciousness, you run programs of justification and blaming and being a victim as to, I'm so unhappy, this is why I did. And it's all just rooted in complete narcissism, really, and just incredibly selfish and just thinking about yourself and really not seeing the ripple effect that it has on every single being that's affected by it.
Yeah, 100%. Because it's when you are in that container, it's way bigger than what you think. I mean, allowing these energies to exist on the planet, that's our responsibility, right? That's the way of responsibility, is me realizing, oh, well, like, this is in me, this is in my reality. So what am I going to do about it? Am I going to allow these energies to exist, or am I going to do the work to actually transform them?
Yeah.
And
And to say this really quickly, like, I'm sure that there are situations for a lot of people where they're in a very like abusive
I was going to go
relationship.
there next.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Abusive relationship. It's never black or white when we talk about these things, right? If you're in an abusive relationship, obviously do what you need to do to get out. But there's also responsibility in every sector of that choice, right? Especially if you have animals, if you have kids, whatever it is. And even in that has to come from a place of I'm going to make this choice, but I'm going to be responsible for every being that I need to be responsible over as I make this really huge life-changing choice.
Yeah, 100%. And because here's the thing is some people have really bad situations, right? Some people do need to, we're not saying that everyone, once they get married needs and has children, needs to stay together. Of course not. That's absolutely ridiculous. And if you thought that, that means you're still in duality, and there's some programs running there for you to see, right? That is not it at all. Because if you are with a partner or you're in a situation that you realize you do need to leave, this isn't healthy, this isn't safe, absolutely. Like, that's a whole other topic. But that's not the same as the energy that we're speaking of right here. That's not the same as the energy that I realized was in me, right? That I'm been healing for the last couple of days. That's a very different energy. The energy that comes from, well, I just need to get what I want because I lack connection, is not the same as, I'm in a bad situation and I actually need to, there needs to be a separation here, right? There needs to be a different way about going about things, and things need to be different, and that's okay. We can't expect, obviously, when we're getting married to somebody or having children, having a family, that we 100% know that we're always going to be together and no trauma is going to happen. Of course, things are going to happen. Of course, like, this is life. People change, people grow, people do stupid things, of course, but that doesn't excuse or justify in any way, shape, or form somebody that chooses to run these programs. It doesn't excuse for the fact that there was this energy in me that I've just discovered that was imprinted on me, that is part of me, even though it isn't the real me. Doesn't create an excuse for that. And it's only by me and every single being of becoming the way of responsibility and saying, yeah, this is mine now. This energy which got imprinted on me is now mine because it lives within me. Now, what the hell am I going to do about it? Am I really the way of loyalty like I think I am? Am I really the way of trust like I think I am? Or do I need to look at this aspect of me and bring it back into oneness?
Yeah. And I mean, this is what we've been brought up in, right? And the old earth, they've done a really brilliant job in really conditioning us to look for happiness and connection and joy and fulfillment outside of us. And the hilarious part is no matter how much you try, you're never going to find it. Because first of all, you're trying to find it in people that haven't found it in themselves. And then it's just like just a cycle that happens over and over and over again. And so, as you're moving through all of this and you had this big realization of like, and isn't it so funny how an incident that's viral like that could just bring up so much for a person. I just think that's so fascinating. Now that you've seen it, right? Now that you're like, okay, this is showing me all the imprints that I've absorbed from mom and dad and blah, blah, blah. What has it been like for you to move through the knowing that, okay, it has to come from me? Because, well, I've never been shown this, which is what we're all learning on the journey, right? Is that the connection has to come from within.
Yeah, the first initial thing was like super sobering. Like, it was like kind of like woke me up of having that realization of like, oh shit, like, this is how I've shown up and this thing has happened to me. And I'm so grateful for knowing this work, because it allowed me to actually realize and read the energies that were in there, of being able to go within myself and be like, yeah, here is this thing, let me open to it. Oh, the shame that showed up that I have done this in my past, let me open and love that. So there was a lot of like realizations that it's not like this like huge epiphany where it's like, oh, right? It's more of this huge epiphany of like, oh no, like, look what I have done or could do with this energy if I didn't realize what I was doing. And I realized how I've sabotaged relationships in the past. I've realized how this energy played out in past relationships. And that was really, really difficult to look at. Like at first, it was like, it's the way of truth. Like seeing the ugly parts of you is never a beautiful, joyous thing to do, but it's necessary if we truly want to heal and elevate. It's completely necessary. And I was just this is like classic like blind spot thing, like completely unaware. You would have told me this 10 years ago that, oh, you do show up that way. I'd be like, no way, I would never do that. I'd never want to create harm like that, because I know how bad it was. Yet it still lives within me. And it was, right? And so the first thing was like, it was just super sobering. It felt like I was thrown into cold water, and I was like, whoa, like that is in here. Gross. Like that needs healing. And then there was a lot of deep sadness for that I would not show up as the way of loyalty, especially in our relationship now, like to not show up as that way, to know that there was a part of me that wasn't vibrating as in loyalty and in trust, was like really heartbreaking, I would say is the word. And it made me, it made me feel a lot, made me cry a lot, to know that there was this part of me that would jeopardize something so incredible and sacred just for its own self-interest. And yeah, so it was like really sobering and really, really challenging and difficult to honestly look at that. But I have this work, right? So as soon as I'm able to see it and humbly bring myself down there and realize like, this is you. It's not the real you, but it is you. You have shown up this way, and you could recreate that reality if you allow this to exist. But I'm powerful enough in this moment, and I'm connected enough to myself to know it's not the real me. It's not the truth of me. And just alchemizing that shit, like rinse and repeat. Because I know that's not who I really am, yet I have shown up that way in the past.
Yeah. And this is Rachel's teaching on when you're not willing to look at it, when you're not willing to see it, when you're not willing to pull it up and feel it, it gets locked in there forever. And then that's what you keep creating for yourself and for everybody else, right? Which means you're locking in selfishness and narcissism and, seeking outside of yourself.
Yep.
So the fact that, I'm sure it was really uncomfortable. I know those ones that are in your blind spot and you see it, you're like, no way. And you're like, oh my God, I don't want to open this door because there's so much in there. But you do it. You have to do it, because why else don't you want to create from something else instead of creating from that?
And the outcome is so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Because now, as soon as I realized what was happening and worked through the layers that were in there, the betrayal that I felt from my mother leaving, the betrayal that I created in my own life, of the lack of trust that was in there, as soon as I started to heal and alchemize those deeper, really painful emotions, and started to, obviously, I've been guiding my inner child to connect to his own heart and power for years now, right? Having that realization, turning the energy around from focusing out to focusing in, all of a sudden it was like a brand new, it was like a lens that got removed from my life. And then it allowed me to feel so much more love in the relationships that I do have and for myself, because I realized I don't have to look for it out there. I can find it right here. And in doing that, that's where I connect from. And neediness is not love. Wanting is not love. So anytime that I slip into those energies, and this has been my programming, is needing and wanting love outside of myself. And when I'm in those energies unconsciously, I have no idea, right? But there are programs in there that are running all the time. And that creates a lack of true divine connection. And that's in all of my relationships. And so when that's in there and I'm wanting and needing, it's creating a complete distortion from what actual love is. And so I could feel a huge shift as soon as I moved through like the lower, denser things. It felt like a fresh new like lens. As I say that, a gust of wind blew in from the window, and like I was like a fresh new, it was just like a wave lifted and just made me realize how much I choose to disconnect from loving people in my life. And I do not have to do that. Like when I choose to love myself first, then that flows out to everyone. And I could feel the void and the disconnect that I'm creating in my relationships because I'm looking for that love externally. I could literally feel it felt like a void because there's an emptiness within me that I'm looking to fill. And as soon as I realized that I was searching for it externally, now all of a sudden there was like a flow that was coming from within me and coming out. And it just feels like a way better way to live my life from. Like, it's like from that place, it's like, I don't care what, whoever's in my life shows up as, because I can still love them for that. Like, they don't need to do this thing or be this way in order for me to feel love or feel good or feel happy. I can just be me and they can be them. And that's enough. I don't need them to be anything else. I don't want them to be anything else. And if I do, I know that there's a part of my shadow showing up.
Yeah. And now think about how many people are so not aware of that, and you completely dismiss or forego relationships that are meant for you. That because you're not seeking, I'm not getting it from them, blah blah, and you will miss out on the beauty of someone you're meant to be with, or someone you're whatever it is, whatever it looks like for you. And I met with this person recently, and she was telling me, she's like, I used to never like animals. And she said, and then I started working on myself and my heart started opening. And then all of a sudden there was this infinite love for animals that I started to feel. And it was just this story of like, this is what our programs and our wounding does, right? It completely closes our hearts, and it completely shuts so many aspects of our divinity down. And then we just function and create from our programs and our wounding. And then you end up with the wrong people, or you end up, making choices and decisions that are not what you were ever meant to make. And it's only until you go on the journey, and like Danny's beautifully sharing, is, oh my God, when I can see it, when I can honor that, and I can find that within me, look at what it actually opens up to. You don't need anybody to be any different. It is truly the way of honoring. I honor you for what you are, and you don't need to change. The only person that actually needs to change is myself, and I need to unblock and do the work around there. And it's beautiful.
Yeah. And
Made you emotional.
Yeah. The irony, right, is that the programs tell me that, oh, they're disconnected.
Right.
Right. And whether or not that's true or
Mhm.
not, whether or not you're going through that in your life, it doesn't matter. And having this inner awareness of realizing, no, dude, it's you that's disconnected. You're wanting them to be different because you are the one that's disconnected. And when you truly find that within yourself, you realize you don't need them to be any other way. And that's what love actually is. And so I spent most of my life And I'm still on this journey of exploring what that is, right? But I spent most of my life thinking I knew what love is. And the more and more I go into myself and I find these different parts, I realize that that was not what love is.
Mm-hmm.
Like I spent my whole life looking for love. And the thing that I thought was love was not love. It's like I'm going around looking for water, and what I actually need is like fruit. It's like you don't need that. Actually, you do need water. Maybe that's a bad analogy, right? But it's like you're spending your whole life going around like looking for an umbrella. And it's like, you don't need an umbrella. You need to just soak up the sun. It's already there. Stop. It's
Mm-hmm.
not raining, dude. Like, throw the umbrella down. Like, just enjoy what's here. It's all right here. You just have to stop looking for the wrong thing. And I spent most of my life thinking love was this particular feeling that I would get. And I recognize now, no, that was the attachment.
Yeah.
That was the attachment to someone or something else. And that has nothing to do with what love is.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And, constantly searching for what you think love is in other people. I think that's something it's almost like an epidemic with all of us, right? We're constantly searching for the love because we've been brainwashed to believe that it's a feeling. When I first heard the teaching of love is not a feeling, it's a state of being, I was like, huh? I was like, could not grasp what that meant because all I've ever been taught is that it's a feeling and you chase it, you need it. And then you go on the journey of discovering that, oh, it's a state of being. It is what you are. And that well you keep searching for and that cup you keep wanting to fill, it's you. And a lot of people have a conceptual idea of what that means. And it's not until you walk it, until where you start to discover through experiences like Danny is talking about, where it's like, I mean, how beautiful that you had this huge, knowing and realization, understanding, and just elevated into more of what you are by, working on this wound that showed up.
Yeah. Yeah, it was beautiful. And hey, there may be other layers. Who knows? But one of the main things, like the other big takeaways, is like realizing that just realizing what the ways really are, right? Of like realizing the way of loyalty, because the way of loyalty is here a lot, right? With what I'm sharing about, and the way of trust, and just being able now to, as the programs clear out, I always have this experience where as the programs clear out, I'm able to actually see and feel and recognize what the ways truly are. And it's like, of course, loyalty is so divine. Of course that is. Like it makes so much sense to me. It's always made sense to me, but when I move through these healings, it's like the ways hit deeper. I'm able to receive more of what they are, because now there isn't a part of me that is unconsciously hidden within me that is not that way, right?
Yeah.
So when there's a part of me in there that I may think that I'm the way of loyalty and I'm a really loyal partner in person, right? But when there's an energy that's in there that's imprinted that isn't the way of loyalty, I'm never going to be able to actually integrate and fully receive what the way of loyalty actually is, what the way of trust actually is, what the way of responsibility in this situation actually is. And the way of responsibility is saying, you know what I did, having that affair, for me in my past, emotionally cheating, looking for that connection, that's not okay.
Yeah.
And I may have done this thing, but that's not okay. And that's not divinity. Mm-hmm. And when we're able to recognize the parts of us that show up lacking divinity, heal, elevate, transform, it takes us to a place of receiving what it actually is. And I realize now, this is why I have so many blocks of fully feeling what all the ways are and seeing what all the ways are. It's because there's still so many parts of me that can't accept that, because they aren't that. And all that needs to happen is they need to heal. They need to remember that they are.
Yeah. Beautifully said. And, when you were speaking about that, it's because you're willing to go into your stuff connected to your divinity is where you start to feel and receive and become the ways. When we're so disconnected and running our programs, you're disconnected from your divinity, which means you're trying to become a way, but you're completely doing it from your mind and severance. And so for you to have that experience, and, as you were talking too of like, oh, the way of loyalty, I mean, how much I lack that for myself too, the lacking the way of loyalty to my own physical body, to like taking care of myself, to loving myself, to honoring myself in so many ways. That's just what came up for me when you were speaking about that, but it's beautiful.
Yeah, obviously, when we hear the word loyalty, the first thing I think we think about when we first hear that word, at least this is for me, is being loyal to another, being
Right.
loyal in your relationship, right? But as with all the ways, it begins with being loyal to yourself.
Yeah.
And where are you not?
Yeah.
And just like you shared, like I was moving through last night, working with my inner child of like, yeah, like when I'm trying to, work him through, especially diet. I have a lot of stuff around diet at the moment. When I'm trying to guide that part of me and realize you don't need to show up this way, like there are better ways that you can show up, ways that create less harm and suffering. It's like, how can I be loyal when I don't even trust myself? Like, I don't trust myself. Why don't I? Because I'm constantly showing up time and time again that I'm a not trustworthy person.
Mm-hmm.
How can I ever be the way of loyalty when, and be loyal to myself when I can't even trust myself?
Yeah.
And this is what gets imprinted on us from our surroundings or parents or whatever.
Yeah. And the way of loyalty is a very high way, right? Which means you have to be all the other ways to be the way of loyalty. And how much of lack of honoring am I of myself, right? Lack of presence that I am with myself. Like, this is why this is a journey of becoming these ways, because we have to learn everything that we were supposed to be from the beginning, and everything that we've been brought up in has taken us away from that. So we're actually learning what we already are by seeing and unlearning everything that we thought that we were, that we're not.
Yeah, it's like I would always get lost with like, what do you mean this is already what we are?
Right.
If we're already that, then why am I not that?
Right.
And there's a couple things to touch on here, right? So, all right, so we come down to this incarnation as a human. Well, if I'm already divinity, then why am I not just being a divine being? Well, this planet does not vibrate at those frequencies, right? It's been taken over by, you want to call it darkness, evil, parasites, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. It's there. Let's call it evil. Let's just go with the word evil. The planet has been taken over. So in the patriarchal upside down inverted matrix of evil and darkness, when you come down as your divinity, if you're not fully, in your divine power, there's going to be parts of you which get traumatized. That's a real thing, right? We get traumatized for all different reasons. And well, aren't I already divinity? Yeah, you are. But you also have to remember that while you're down here in this low, low, low place. And in doing that, in remembering what you are, that's the journey that we're on, is remembering that. And the more, and this is where it's super nuanced. It's not like, well, the higher up you are, you can come down and remember faster. Maybe, but also you might have chosen to take on so many more challenges as a more elevated being. So it's not like, oh, you just come down here and the super elevated, souls will just remember like that. It's like, yeah, maybe, but also you might have bit off, a bigger chunk of the cookie to be able to, work through. There might be a lot there for you. You might have a bigger piece of pie than other people. And so that comes into play when we come down here. And we have to move through the process of remembering that.
Yeah, and we have to remember, I was talking to this woman yesterday and she was like, I just want a quick fix, I just want to get to the end already. And I'm like, if it happened so quickly for you, and if you just got to the end, you wouldn't have, Rachel teaches about this, you would have not become anything, you know? And it's
Yeah,
like we forget, we just want to get to the end. We just want it to be done with. But that's such a cop out, and that's such an easy thing to do. She and I were talking about, like, you could go get a big butt. You could go get a surgery overnight, right? Or you could work every single day, sweat, blood, and tears to get those glutes what you want it to be. And then when you have it, you become it. I mean, you'll look back and be like, oh my God, I'm so thankful for the journey that brought me here, because it is the journey of becoming that makes us what we are.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And so we come down here and we come here to do that, to become that in human form.
Yeah.
Like, yes, we are already, divinity. Yeah. But we also have come here to become that. And in that journey of becoming what we already are in the higher realms, in now human form, there's a new layer and level of growth that we as a soul encounter. We're able to expand in a different way,
Mm.
in a new way. We get to come down here and play a part. And that part's pretty mega. There's a song that's come out recently that I am just absolutely in love with. It's by a EDM group called Above and Beyond, and they released this song called Bigger Than Us. And the song, it's so beautiful, and it's been hitting so deep because it's this reminder of like what I'm doing here in my individual, like, unique soul journey of healing and elevating. It feels so much like it's just me alone doing this thing, trying to get to this place, right? And once I get to this place and I'm healed, I'm good.
Yeah.
And it's like, Danny, it's bigger than all of us. It's way bigger than that. It's bigger than you can ever, like, comprehend. And it's this beautiful, beautiful reminder of, like, this whole thing that you're doing. It's not about getting to a certain destination. It's bigger than that. It's about, in this moment, just expanding into more of what you already are.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been having this just this deeper understanding and knowing. We take a class called Becoming the Ways when you're a student at MSU, and Rachel gave a whole teaching of an hour and a half of the way of selfless service. And the way of selfless service is I selflessly do the work on myself so that I can be a beacon for others, right? And I was just feeling into how selfish we are when we allow the programs of resistance and avoidance and suppression and escapism or whatever to take over, because what you're here to do is bigger than you, but you're a part of the expansion, the massiveness of what we're here to do. And when you show up so selfish like that and so powerless, you're consenting to a world of hell to keep existing when your soul did not come here to do that. And Rachel was giving this teaching the other day of, like, when you transition out of this life, you want to be like, soul, I did good by you. I did this for you because you are me and I am you, like I am your soul. But you want to leave this incarnation knowing that you served and did and completed what your soul came here to do and complete and become, truly. And it really hit really hard, because what a disservice to you do when you choose all these other programs to take over. You are dishonoring your soul. And, like, that is, to me, that's blasphemy. It's like your soul came here to do and be a part of something so massive. It's to create heaven on planet Earth when hell has reigned for so long. And how selfish of you to allow all of these other stupid lower frequencies to take over, and you choose to create from that. It's selfish. And I come back to this teaching a lot of, like, I am the way of selfless service. I am the way of loyalty to my journey and to my soul. And I will do whatever it takes to complete what I came here to do and become, period.
Yeah, and then that can open the door, like it does with me, to all of the programs of, like, oh man, you're not doing enough. You're not far enough along. And I've been having these experiences recently where I'm like, dude, you're doing it right
You're doing
now.
it right now.
You're this part that you're moving through is it.
Yes.
And I'm always like, yeah, but I need to get to this place and then I'll be like doing it and then I'll be healed. And it's like, no, Danny, you are already doing it. Why? Because you're going into your shit.
Yeah.
You're not running from it.
Yeah.
You are actively doing it. Could you be doing more? Maybe. Right? Yeah. Could you be doing less? Definitely.
Yeah.
Right? Definitely. So what does that mean? That means that I'm actually experiencing the becoming right now. And I think because of the spiritual matrix, we have this idea that the process to become an enlightened being is magical, is beautiful. Or conversely, it's the hardest, darkest, dark night of the soul. It also can be just what life normally is, as long as you're, doing the work on yourself on an energetic level, right? When Ellie goes back to talking about selfless service, like, it's about and this whole, like, this awakening that's bigger than our individual selves. We're a part of it. It's an energetic process that's taking place, and we are part of it. And the fact that you're in any capacity working on yourself, if you're doing the energetics, you're actually, connecting to your heart, you're healing wounds. That's it. Like, you're doing it. And that's the real deal.
Yeah. And I know there's so many students and, me too. Oh, I'm trying so hard and I don't know if I'm doing it right. And you're doing it. Stop all that programming from patriarchy that it's got to be hard and hustle and grind. It's got to be so difficult. You got to make sure you're doing like, that doesn't make sense when it comes to divinity.
Or that you're going to become like super elevated and enlightened and never feel anything bad. This is another big one. Yeah. Of like, oh, well, I'm still this is one that always comes. I'm still experiencing things that I'm like, struggling with, or like that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, duh. Like, all that shit that you've been conditioned and programmed to believe about yourself, there's only one way that you're going to transcend it. And that's by seeing what it is, feeling it, connecting to your divinity, and transforming it. So the fact that it's coming up, that's the beautiful part.
Yeah.
That means that you're doing it. That means that you're actually on the path. And it's so easy that when our shit comes up and hits the fan, that we fall into, oh, I must be doing it wrong. I don't know if I'm doing it right. And all these other cluster of programs come up. And it's like, you're doing it. Just keep going.
Yeah. And I'll end it at this. Rachel gave a teaching recently in our Mastering Energetic Detachment class. And she said, keep elevating, because as you do, the magic and the mysticism will come. And I'm like, hell yeah. Let's go. Let's keep elevating. You're doing it. Okay. Any program that tells you it needs to be harder, you're not doing it right, alchemize it and keep dropping in and keep doing what you're doing, because you're doing it.
And any program that says being enlightened is you sitting on top of a mountain and always being happy, like,
no,
that's a program too.
Guys, we came here to have the human experience. Okay. It doesn't even make sense to be happy all the time. And you wouldn't even appreciate it if that's all you ever experienced. No.
We came here to descend into literal hell on earth, patriarchal world that is, completely severed and disconnected from our divinity. And we came here to just remember that.
Yeah.
Remember what we are. And thank God there are the ways, or thank Goddess, should I say?
Thank Goddess. Yeah.
There are the ways, because the path has already been laid out for us. All we have to do is choose to walk it. All we have to do is remember what we are. And there's a path towards remembering that. And they're called the ways of oneness. And I can't believe each layer that I go through, just like this one that I was speaking of today, how much I realize more about what these ways really are, and how honored I am as the way of honoring to be walking that path with fellow beings like you, Ellie, and all the incredible students, coaches, professors, that we have at MSU, and of course, Rachel herself.
Yeah. And if you're listening to this and you want to be a part of it, great. We're enrolling for our fall semester, August 26th. We begin. If you are interested in learning more, sign up for a free student enrollment meeting at mastersofselfuniversity.com. And let's get you enrolled and let's get you starting to become. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Until next time, we'll see you guys then. Bye.
We'll see you then. Bye.